Welcome to episode 14 of Everything Sports with Aman. I'm your host, Aman Karni, and I talk about the hottest topics in sports. And yes, I know it's been 2 weeks since I last posted. It's because I stopped doing weekend wrap up just to get as many views as the other ones, like 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 views like other videos. But so I stopped weekend wrap up, and then last week on Friday was my spring break, and I was out of town, so obviously couldn't do anything. But I'm back. So in this episode, we talk about LaMarcus Aldridge retiring, Stephen Curry, and how he should be the MVP. We have fantasy minute, but this time I added in baseball. Luka DOncic, arguably being the best young player since when LeBron was young and if Julian Edelman truly should be in the Hall of Fame. Without further ado, let's get it started. So LaMarcus Aldridge, this was very shocking news to me and to everyone for that matter that he retired, right? Because he went to the Brooklyn Nets in hopes of getting a ring, getting that championship he's been looking for. He's been in the league for 15, 16 years. Like, that's a successful man right there. If you can have that much longevity in a league like the NBA, right? And so, unfortunately, his career is cut short because of a health issue. He had an irregular heartbeat, and he described how it felt. And so he's putting his family in front of basketball. And past 15 years, basketball was in front of his family and health and everything. He just wanted to be on the court as much as possible. And now he's going to take care of his family. It was the best decision he could make because so many people think that athletes live this extremely lavish lifestyle and don't care about anything but basketball. They don't care about their family. They don't care about any of this. But that's because we only see the athlete when they're playing basketball. But everything else, like their family, their friends, what they do outside of the court, we don't see at all. We don't see their actual human side. We only see their professional side. And that professional side is playing in the NBA, playing in the NFL, playing in the MLB, whatever sports league. So LaMarcus Aldridge, in his entire career, he's averaged 19.4 points per game, 8.2 rebounds, just one block a game. And then he's a seven-time All-Star, five-time All-NBA. I believe it was like three-time All-NBA second and two-time All-NBA third. And he was a rookie, 2006, 2007 All-Rookie team. And honestly, all of us expected him to re-sign with Portland. And surprisingly, he took his talent to San Antonio and played those years over there and then the short stint with Brooklyn. And there's a case for him to be Hall of Fame, but I just don't know. Like NBA put him on the All Decade team, and immediately the name they were missing is Klay Thompson on the All Decade team, but they put LaMarcus Aldridge. We know Klay Thompson is better than LaMarcus Aldridge. I'm pretty sure no one can argue with that statement. If Klay Thompson's on the All Decade team, or if he's not on the All Decade team, then how can LaMarcus Aldridge be in the Hall of Fame? And looking at this, my fear is that Klay Thompson is going to miss out on a Hall of Fame. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer because of people like this. How is LaMarcus Aldridge? It's not Aldridge's fault. I'm saying the people that vote him in and make that kind of garbage is who the people I'm mad at are who I'm mad at. Because Klay Thompson clearly should have been in the all decade team. Why is Kemba Walker in there too? Like what? So Marcus Aldridge, man, Tim Duncan was there and then he retired. He kind of overshadowed Aldridge, but man, I think LaMarcus Aldridge, it's tough. It really is tough to say he's in the Hall of Fame, man. I can understand why people say he's in the Hall of Fame And I can understand why people say he's not in the Hall of Fame. He is the mid-range king. Everyone's calling him that. He is the mid-range king, but I'm kind of in the middle. I don't have an answer to that. But sticking to the topic of basketball, we have Stephen Curry and the lights out performance he has been playing. The past 9 games in a row, the Warriors, not the Warriors, Stephen Curry has had 30 or more points in all of those games. And this is on their way to a 4-game winning streak. And when you look at the streaks around the league, that's they're one of the hottest teams in the league right now, largely thanks to Stephen Curry. They beat the Thunder by like 38, the Cavs by 18, and they beat the Nuggets. Like, the Warriors can prove that they're a really good team and then just a horrible team. Like, the absolute low point for Warriors and Warriors fans is by far the 53-point loss to Toronto. Like, without Steph and Draymond, just at least lose by 20 or something reasonable. But when you lose by 53, man, like, really? You can't do that much for Steph and Draymond. And then Curry came back from his tailbone, and he has been on a tear. And this season, he's been averaging 30.7 points per game, 5.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds. All those stats that I just mentioned are better than his unanimous MVP season. If he's better than his unanimous MVP season, then he should be MVP this year. I know Nikola Jokic is balling out, Joel Embiid is balling out, but these past 9 games honestly just proves why Stephen Curry should be the MVP. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a Warriors fan and all that. Obviously, as a fan, you like the best player on your team to be MVP, but Stephen Curry, man, he's been underrated for so many years. And the Warriors are a 9th seed in the West. Let's look at their record. They're 28-28. They're 500, right? If they were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be the 7th seed and 1 game behind the 6th seed, 2 games behind the 4th seed if they were in the East. This is what Stephen Curry does. You take Stephen Curry out, and then the Warriors lose by like 50 points to random teams. That defines an MVP to me. If you take that player off the team, how big of an effect it does it make? If you take Jokic off the Nuggets, assuming Jamal Murray was still healthy, praise up for him, man. Tore his ACL at the end of the Warriors game, but Nuggets could still win without Jokic if you still have Murray, assuming he's healthy. And so let's go to Joel Embiid and the Sixers. They can still win without Joel Embiid because they have Ben Simmons and those other guys. And Curry is the only person you can say in the league that you take them off that team and that team is going to be horrible. Like, I'm not saying the Warriors are title contenders or anything. I'm just saying if you take Curry off the Warriors, they're an easy 13, 14, 15 seed. That is how big of an effect he makes. And don't forget, the first 2 games, he started off cold. First 2 games of the season, and now you just look at it. Amazing to see the Warriors. Curry has to be MVP, and NBA should add like a fan component because it's honestly fans most of the times that sees what goes on the court. It's just a panel of sports writers and broadcasters throughout the US and Canada voting for the 1st to 5th place selections for the NBA MVP. The fans should get a higher say for MVP because they honestly see more than most people. And none of these sports has had a fan component to the MVP voting. I feel like that would be a great idea. This video somehow gets trending, just please, please, please tell everyone you know to try and make a petition or something because fans often know more than these sports writers. And that's my take on it. And That's why Curry should be MVP. If you would ask any fan right now, they'd see Curry and look at his level of playing. Like better than his MVP year, he is definitely an MVP. Not even MVP candidate. He is this year's MVP. Enough said. So now we go to Fantasy Minute, where I give you the 5 players for basketball to add on your team if you want to stay at the top of your league or at the bottom. I don't know why you want to stay at the bottom, but. And then baseball will only be 4 players, but starting with basketball, we got Isaiah Hartenstein. He's 10% rostered. Cleveland. He's a center. If you need a big man on your team, pick him up. He's been playing well lately. And then Malachi Flynn, point guard, Toronto Raptors. He's 34% rostered. Getting more recognition as the Raptors need better guard after trading Norman Powell, so Flynn gets more minutes. Small forward, power forward, Dorian Finney-Smith from Dallas Mavericks, 20%. He just had a really good game earlier, so he's been a good role player for the Dallas Mavericks. So picking him up. Reggie Jackson, point guard, shooting guard for the Clippers, 12%. He just had that game winner against Detroit. Jaden McDaniels, power forward center, Minnesota, 31% rostered. Minnesota's been doing great with their big men like Karl-Anthony Towns, McDaniels. They've been doing great. So now baseball, we head over to baseball. So in the next minute, I'll tell you the 4 players you should add. So now we got a right pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, Emmanuel Place. I think Place 44% rostered. Outfielder Cedric Mullins for the Baltimore Orioles, 46% rostered. Shortstop SP Casey Mize, 20%. This plays for Detroit. Right pitcher Yami Garcia, 32% rostered, Miami Marlins, and that's all. But if I butchered some of these names, please understand I do not watch baseball as much as other sports, but I still understand all the rules. So please understand that why I don't know what SP stands for. Other than that, I still understand the rules. So don't bash me for not knowing what SP stands for in baseball. All right, so now we can move on to SP means starting pitcher. I should have guessed that. The starting pitcher, Casey Mize for Detroit, 20%. Luka DOncic. He has been the best young player since LeBron James. What I mean by that is he's had the most effect in a few seasons on his team, just like the way LeBron James did. And he's had that game winner against the Clippers. That was a beautiful step back, and we all know if Porzingis was healthy, Clippers are getting eliminated in the first round. But then he just had an incredible game winner against Memphis, literally off 1 foot, stumbling, like crazy game winner. And if you take Doncic off the Mavericks, Mavericks are absolutely garbage. So that honestly should elevate him in the MVP race as well. There's so many players in the league. You take them off their own teams, and their teams would be garbage. But those players aren't being considered for MVP as much as Embiid, Jokic, and as much as Embiid and Jokic are. But Luka Doncic, man, he is barely in the league for, I think this is his 3rd year in the league. And he's only 22 years old. How are you 22 years old and already this great? Right? Like, I'm not even sure if he was on an All-NBA team yet. He's made the All-Star game as starter last year and this year. Like, that's crazy. Luka, I'm pretty sure it's guaranteed that he's gonna win a ring before his career ends. And Porzingis, he's been playing all right this season. And for the future still, like Porzingis has a lot of years left, but for the future, look out for the Dallas Mavericks because as they keep winning, as Luka keeps doing great, they're gonna draw so many free agents to their team. right? Because Doncic is 22 and Porzingis is 25. For the future, that is going to be a dangerous team, especially if they become a destination for free agents. That's my take on the Mavericks and Luka Doncic. So now we go to NFL, where Julian Edelman announced his retirement earlier this week. He was 11 seasons in New England for the Patriots, Bill Belichick, and 10 of those years he's been with Tom Brady, one obviously with Cam Newton. And I think Julian Edelman is an MVP because when you think of Tom Brady in New England, there's always going to be that big three: Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski. When you thought of the Niners of Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Dwight Clark, like all those players made it to the Hall of Fame. So I don't know why not many people think Edelman's a Hall of Famer, and I understand why, because other players that had better stats than Edelman didn't make the Hall of Fame, but Tom Brady really, really helped Edelman in his career. In Edelman's career, he's had 36 touchdowns, 620 receptions, and 6,822 yards. But those stats even account for this injury riddled season. That's around 620 yards a season. But if he wasn't injured, then it would have been a different story. He easily would have caught 5 more touchdowns, maybe gotten like 500 more yards. And if that happened, he'd be at 7,300 yards. And that would equate to 663.63. So round up to 664 yards a season. So I definitely think Edelman is an MVP just because he's in that big three with Edelman, Brady, and Gronkowski, and obviously in that incredible comeback against the Falcons in the Super Bowl. And if you are a Falcons fan, sorry that I just reminded you about it, but Edelman had that incredible and amazing catch, and there hasn't been a better catch than that in like the playoffs or anything. So Edelman definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I really believe he should. And I get where people are coming from though. Like 663 yards per season, that's like a wide receiver two numbers he's put up in his career. That's just the average though. But he's averaging wide receiver two numbers, like I said, and his touchdowns. If he wasn't injured too much, they would have been higher. But touchdowns is like 3 a season. So I understand why, because when you look at the stats and average, he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's got that name recognition. He played amazing with Brady and Gronkowski. So definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame in my opinion, but I definitely understand why some people say he's not in the Hall of Fame. And with that, thanks for tuning in to episode 14. Tune in next Friday for episode 15 of Everything Sports with Aman.